Hello, what's up everybody? We've got a fun little viewer submission here. We're going to be taking a look at some Shadow Priest gameplay from some kind folks who were nice enough to send this to me in the hopes that I would provide any type of advice for them. Now we're playing Warrior Shadow Priest Resto Shaman versus TSG or DK Warrior Healer Disc Priest here in this case. And although I labeled Warrior Shadow Priest as the best comp for a Shadow Priest to play, it is not an easy comp by any means. You really have to set things up and definitely survive the melee for longer than a minute to try to win, which is kind of difficult to do. So this game is labeled as a loss, just to point out that we're looking at games where we think we could really improve, and I think a lot of Shadow Priests struggle with melee cleaves, so we'll go ahead and get into this here and see what we can do. So as soon as the gates open, my first priority is going to be to just plant myself right here and get my dots on them before they can even get to me. Now it looks like we're going to do exactly that. Really good playing Damnation, using that right away to get it off cooldown. I like that a lot. The only thing I would point out is that we didn't talent into Lasting Plague, so we have half as much damage on DP this game. If we play Lasting Plague here, I think we do a little bit more damage overall, but in any case, we will continue. So it looks like they're setting up on your Shaman here, and they grip you in against Frosty K. Their biggest damage ability is Chill Streak, and what it's going to do is going to bounce off anyone that's in range, and it just keeps like multiplying their damage. They do a ton of damage if everybody stacks. So as soon as they grip you in, I think high priority is to just fade and go away, or maybe go back here where you were before. And this is also good because if they are attacking multiple targets, they're cleaving, your Shaman's gonna have a much harder time healing, and if you're just away from that, you're minimizing a lot of their damage, as well as giving you more opportunities to cast. You can even see the Priest is about to Door of Shadows in and disorient everybody. One other thing I would point out is that we used Fear on only the DK, and since we're targeting the DK, we've got avoidable dots on him. I'm sure your Warrior's gonna break that instantly, and I think the Fear already did break, so would have been better to perhaps silence the Priest or stun the Priest on his Rapture cooldown, so that way he cannot constantly apply those shields, which basically make them unkillable. And another thing to note with Disc Priest is a lot of them are playing the Shield Reflect legendary, and it'll reflect, I think, a percentage of damage based on the shield that they have. And when they rapture their shields are just so big that it's going to actually reflect a ton of damage. But if we can look at speaking of damage, the damage done here, we're doing a good job. Like, we got in Void Form right away. We used PI, we're trying to cast. I think we're doing a great job on getting pressure out, but the only thing I would recommend is trying to get some early CC on this Priest during this Rapture cooldown, because we still have stun, we still have silence, and like I said, we used our Fear on the DK, and it didn't really amount to that much. So if they're not going on you, you should be able to just kind of roll up and instantly Fear the Priest. And we'll go ahead and start playing the video again. So we get disoriented on the mind games, and then disoriented again because we're still stacked, and the DK is using his, I forget what this is called, it's like blinding something, but the more you can get away and avoid all that stuff, the better it's going to be for your team. One thing you could also do is try to mind control them off if you're far enough away. The Priest can dispel it, but the chances of them doing that when they're under pressure are kind of low. We also let the Priest get mind games off on our Shaman when we still had CC. So if I could point that out again, we'll scooch back a second here. So you see him casting mind games. We still have silence to interrupt this. Now, mind games is particularly good against Resto Shamans when they're low HP, because they have an ability called Nature's Guardian. When they fall under like 35%, I think it restores them to a certain amount of health. But when they have mind games on them, it'll actually just not heal them and kill them instead. And it's super scary as a Shaman to see that cast go off when you're already low HP. So definitely high priority is to get our CC out a lot faster, I would say. The fact that this game, we already have a lot of damage, right? They're like half HP. I think if we CC here, we force a lot of cooldowns, and they'll end up being really scared. So we get the mind games off in the DK, but since we didn't CC the Priest, he actually gets the barrier off, the power word barrier. Now that reduces all damage by 50% if you didn't know. So they're probably going to be okay for the duration of that, even though they just choose to run out of it at the Shaman. I will say that this positioning is pretty stressful. The fact that everyone is all stacked up makes it, I think, really hard for the shaman to heal. Obviously, they're just training him, but the fact that he can't heal multiple people, I think, makes it really difficult. So in another situation, if they were training your shaman, I would try to advise him to maybe run along. Let's see if I can pull up this thing again. Maybe start running around, like just start doing laps, and then that way the warrior can keep them slowed. We can keep kiting them away from their healer so they can't heal, and we won't all be stacked up on this one tiny little box. So it seems like we're in a pretty rough spot here. I see that we did use our Devouring Plague on the Priest. Now that's not really high priority since the Priest isn't our kill target. I would say the DK is your best kill target in this game, and I think focusing most of our damage on him, using our DPs on him, is going to be more effective in the long run, unless you guys were planning on swapping to the Priest here. There was no voice in this video, so I can't really tell what the other players were trying to do. But in general, yeah, again, we're using our CC a little too late into the game. Our Shaman's already had to Spirit Link, and I think we're just running out of cooldowns now, so we'll see what happens next. Get completely DR feared, that's good for us. I like that we are keeping our dots up. Definitely looking good on that. We get kicked because, again, we're pretty close to everybody, and if we're positioned further away, being interrupted isn't as much of an issue. And we'll see if we're spamming anything. I think when we're kicked, best thing to do is just to start dispelling. Looks like we're going to keep going. He gets Power Infusion. I see your spam dispelling. I really like that. Kind of negating that offensive cooldown from the Priest. We've got a lot of CCDRs here. Let's see. Trying to go back to see when the stun was used. Oh man, one thing is really annoying with the DKs is their makes all of your abilities longer if you're near them. So they have Heartstop Aura, and look, if we use Psychic Aura, I'm trying to see where it was actually used. Okay, so we used it on the Priest. I wasn't paying attention there. That was good because we could just Trinket, and look how low the DK is. So imagine if we had used those CCs early in the game. We're 30 seconds into the game. They would almost be back off cooldown again. So definitely keep that in mind for next time. Get your CC off right away. Again, we purge the Power Infusion. That's a really good play right there. Trying to minimize the damage that DK is doing. This is really awkward for trying to cast when they're all stacked up here. So I would advise the Shaman to kind of kite them more into the open. He's not really avoiding anything but your damage if he's kiting away from you around the box. The box is just a bad area to play for any caster, I think. So I like that you swapped him, did a little fade action. Seems like they're trying to attack you, but we still have Disperse, so we're not too scared. We have full Insanity, so we should be dumping those DPs into the DK. There's one. Fear comes. Dispersion. Battle Masters. I guess we're playing Battle Masters. I don't really know if that's necessary. Probably good for surviving, but I think the damage is just more important now. Like, you'll probably just die through Battle Masters, so I would maybe equip a damage on Use Trinket and just macro out to Void Form. That's what I've been doing. Seems to work pretty well. We go for our last CC attempt here, but the warrior is already dead. Fear the Priest. He uses his will there. If we had feared him earlier, he wouldn't have had it there, I guess. I think overall, the message from this game is just to use your CC as early as possible. Get that stuff going right away, and you can definitely get a lot more pressure that way. I'm also just going to look at the talents, see if there's any talents we could have changed. Nope, this is pretty much what I would play, except I would probably either drop Life Swap. I would probably drop Life Swap for Lasting Plague, or drop Void Origins for Lasting Plague if you don't think they're going to go on you. Like, if, for example, if you're facing this team multiple times, and every time they've been on your Shaman, it's not a huge deal to cast Void Form when they're not on you. Alright, I hope we enjoyed that video. We're going to hop into another one in just a moment.